Hello and welcome back to another episode of TEW, and we are here for our first show after Bad Blood and the real start of our main series, because obviously this is now going into our first show that's fully booked by me rather than leading on from what's been going on in real life. There may be a couple of things that carry over, but most of it's going to be new. It is worth noting we have already done main event. I'm probably not going to show that in videos just because it's a 1 hour show. We just use it to get a few people over, but we'll run through the card quickly. Pete Dunne opened the show defeating Cedric Alexander and called out Sheamus for disrespecting him. Chelsea Green and Piper Niven picked up a win against Katana Chance and Caden Carter. Chelsea says that she and Piper are after the women's tag team titles. And then the Wyatt Six picked up a win against some jobbers that we hired, and they celebrated after the match. We didn't really have any big incidents of note apart from Finn Balor has offered to put over Bron Breakker. So that's the only thing really of note from the pre-show stuff. We are going to be changing Raw down to 2 hours instead of the 3 hours that we've got for this show. And also, just before we get into it, if you are enjoying the content, please do leave a like down below. Subscribe and comment down below if you've got any challenges you want me to try and complete throughout this save. So we opened the show in front of 11,098 people in the Pauli Pavilion with a pre-show match that was abysmal, where AOP defeat Jody himself and Alpha Zoe in 6:47. That was just because we wanted to give AOP a win, and we already had Alpha and Jody from the Wyatt 6 match. 39 rating. They're saying they'd be better off without Paul Ellering as a manager, so we'll look into that. Next up in a terrible pre-show match, the Unholy Union defeat Katana Chance and Caden Carter in 9:01 with a 49 rating there. So although it says a terrible pre-show match, I think that's actually pretty decent, to be honest. Next, in an abysmal pre-show match, JTG picks up a win against Lucas Riley with the shoutout. I'm quietly considering bringing JTG back. I quite liked his gimmick back in the day, and I know, like, on the indies these days he's ripped, and he might be fun to have in our mid-card. And our final pre-show match, this one was poor. Io Sky defeats Ivy Nile with a cloverleaf, getting a 53 rating. She was really off her game and still manages to get 58, so if we can get her on her game, we could be in for a treat. But let's head into the main show now. And that opens with a 94 rating, which is absolutely fantastic. CM Punk opening Raw, talking about his win over Drew McIntyre, but he's battered and beaten himself. He does say soon he'll be wrestling on Raw. He's obviously not wrestled on Raw since his return to WWE. But that will come in just a couple of weeks, because he needs to rest from the damage that he did take in the cell. And as he leaves, Dominic Mysterio comes out, and he's just limping past CM Punk on the stage, just teasing the fact that he's moaning about being hurt. There's no injury, but we're just selling the effects of the cell match. And after that, Dominic gets a win in a decent match over Dragon Lee in 11:01 with a frog splash after Liv Morgan got involved. 65 rating, which is quite nice. Dom and Dragon Lee have pretty good chemistry, which is also very useful to have. Liv doing some good work at ringside indicates maybe they've got some chemistry there, which is always good to see. After the match, Liv celebrates with Dom in the ring. Rhea appears on screen, and she just says, despite the fact that technically she can't challenge Liv for the title anymore, one way or another, she's gonna get her. That gets a 67 rating. And I believe we're back into a match next. We are not. We've got Braun Strowman preparing for his match with Bronson Reed later tonight. He's lifting heavyweights backstage. That gets a 74 rating. And after that, we have a bout that had subpar wrestling and little heat. Sheamus defeats Lucas O'Reilly in 4 minutes 40 with a brogue kick, 51 rating. It was just to give Sheamus a win. And most importantly, after the match, Pete Dunne attacks Sheamus with a chair across the back, screaming in his face for disrespecting him for so long with that stupid name, Butch, and the fact that Sheamus allowed him to be called that for so long. And Pete Dunne has completely lost it, going after his former mentor, it would seem. Next, we just see Bronson Reed preparing for his match with Braun Strowman. 56 rating, similar thing, he's just doing a bit of cardio ready for the match. And then in a terrible match, Zelina Vega defeats Ivy Nile in 8 minutes 44 by pinfall with a roll-up. It's a 45 rating for the match. It's not ideal, but after the match, out comes Liv and Dom. Liv states that now Rhea's behind her, she plans to prove that she's better than Rhea ever was as champion by beating everyone that Rhea did in her title reign. And that starts with defeating Zelina Vega. And then just as that finishes, Rhea's music hits. Liv and Dom sprint away into the crowd as Rhea is stood on the ramp, absolutely furious that they've managed to get away from her. And it gets a 58 rating for that segment. Next up we have Kofi telling Xavier Woods if they can beat the Creeds tonight, he's managed to get them a title match against the Judgment Day next week. However, despite that, Xavier Woods looks a little bit annoyed about Kofi. He's like, you seem to be so desperate to make this tag team work. Let me do my own thing occasionally. And Kofi just insistent of winning the tag titles again. Next up, Bron Breakker comes out and issues an open challenge, which is answered by none other than Otis, getting a 60 rating, and hopefully the match can do the same. It does exactly the same. In a bout that had a decent reaction from the crowd, but subpar wrestling, Bron defeated Otis in 13-10 by submission with a Steiner recliner. So 60 rating, defense number 2 of the Intercontinental Championship for Bron Breakker there. I'm not entirely sure where I want to go with Bron's feud at the moment, so for now, he's going to do a bit of an open challenge run. And after the match, Bron Breakker proceeds to hit a second spear and a third spear to Otis, and then as Tozawa comes in to try and break it up, spears him as well. Gets a 56 rating as Bron just starts destroying people. Backstage, R-Truth tells The Miz that he's going to arrange a friendly match between them and the Judgment Day. Obviously the Judgment Day are the current tag team champions. Miz reminds Truth, like, you're not in the Judgment Day, they're not your friends, I don't know what you're doing. And R-Truth is like, no, I think you've got things mixed up. It's the core that I'm no longer involved with. I'm still in the Judgment Day. I'm trying to do some stupid stuff with R-Truth, because why not? Segment rating of 72. I used to hate R-Truth. It annoys me how much I've warmed to him. But after that, we have a bout that had a decent wild brawl. Bronson Reed and Braun Strowman went to a draw following a double countout. 2 crazy matches in quick succession doesn't really work, so didn't realise that we'd done that, so we need to be aware of that in future. But hopefully, if we can avoid that in future, these two can have some good matches. 52 rating there. And after the match, they continue to brawl, getting a 62 rating that ends with Bronson Reed hitting Braun with a crossbody through a wall so that Bronson Reed can stand tall at the end of the segment. Sami Zayn states that in tonight's main event he plans to win so that he can face Gunther and prove, just like at WrestleMania, he is Gunther's kryptonite. So we've got a fatal 4-way coming up in the main event to decide the number 1 contender for Gunther's World Heavyweight Championship. And after that we have a decent match in which the Creed brothers defeat the New Day when Brutus Creed submitted Kofi Kingston. So despite that Kofi was the one pushing for this, he's actually the one that takes the loss. Gets a 59 rating for us there. And after the match, Kofi apologises to Woods, trying to say, how much pain he was in, and Woods just doesn't say anything. He just gets out the ring and leaves. You can see in his face he's so annoyed about what's happened, and it'll be interesting to see what Kofi tries to do to make it up for him. And after that, Damian Priest, interviewed by Kathy Kelly, states that Bad Blood is absolutely not the end of his battle with Finn Balor. Obviously, Damian hurting his shoulder in the match. Kayfabe wise, I should clarify. JD McDonough got involved. Finn took advantage. And Priest, you can see he's tender with his shoulder. But just stating, you didn't beat me fairly. Therefore, I'm not accepting that. And he makes clear that if Finn can beat him one-on-one, then that's it. They're done with each other. But Finn hasn't proven that. Next up, we have Uncle Howdy with the rest of the Wyatt Six. Just warning the WWE roster, look after those who are close to you. Obviously, Uncle Howdy losing Bray Wyatt in 2023. And he doesn't want other people to have the regret of turning on somebody that they're close to or falling out with people they're close to, only to lose them and regret it. Obviously, that didn't happen with Uncle Howdy and Bray Wyatt, but he just knows what that loss means, and he doesn't want other people to feel it. I believe next up we do have our main event, so fingers crossed for a good match. And it's not as good as we would like. In a decent match, Sami Zayn defeats Chad Gable, Rey Mysterio, and Jey Uso in 24 minutes 26 when Sami Zayn pinned Rey Mysterio with a haluva kick. Chad Gable still being managed by Maxine Dupree, which may not have helped, but I can't imagine that being the full problem. Gets a 64 rating, so it's not bad, but it's not exactly what we needed either. And after the match, as Sami celebrates, Gunther is watching from the stage, and that closing segment gets a 75 rating, which is quite nice. The show overall gets a 66 rating. It does lose its popularity, unfortunately, but we still don't have enough hot storylines going on. We'll have to figure out what we need to do to get those up. We lose a lot of popularity in Canada, but overall it was a pretty decent show. So despite the fact that we lose popularity, the feedback from viewers has been pretty good and people have enjoyed the show. So I think the problem is how popular we are versus how popular some of our roster is. And hopefully as we go forward, we can continue to improve our workers' popularities and get into better rated shows. Hopefully we're not too far away from that, because we've got a bit of space to work with, to be fair. But yeah, we don't want to have it take too long. But if you have enjoyed that, please do leave a like down below. We'll be back in a day or two with SmackDown. Subscribe if you're enjoying the content, and thank you very much for watching.